Hmm? Oh, you already recorded it? Okay, perfect.
That one, and we can use this one bigger cup. This is more, we can move it. That is one, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just the whole thing.
Yeah, this one is much longer.
Yep. Yep.
Thanks.
Well, it would be great if my projector worked.
Oh, isn't it working?
That's what's going on. We're switching to the little one.
Oh, no. Okay.
Wow.
I didn't realize that Julian was talking to G8 here. I was like, all right. Well,
Do you need to do, what is this connected to? Is this connected to that? Okay.
Now we can get, oh, you know why, maybe, no, it doesn't matter. Yeah, we have it an HDMI. Why? HDMI, and it's on. Okay, I got it.
Okay, something just happened because my screen changed.
But we need to turn that off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one.
Okay.
Ponder what you hear and feel before you speak. Trust ambiguity. We're not here to debate who is right and wrong. We're just here to learn together. And be mindful of time. We have a lot to cover, which is usually why we do our minutes and meters. And once we get that going, we'll be okay. Okay. Is there anything else that we should cover in our meeting agreements? So we have a couple people that have, we feel like you're getting a little out of hand. We might speak up and say, hey, just remember the agreements. We all agree that we're gonna do the right thing here today. So with that, we are going to move into Senator Alvarado. Thanks.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you, Lindsay, for the invitation, and thank you for all of your advocacy in the community. It's great to have a partner in our fight on railroad issues. So thank you for that. She certainly keeps me on my toes too. She'll come in and brief me on everything that's happening with mergers and Union Pacific. So I feel like I know almost everybody because, I grew up here in the East End. I live down the street and see many of you at community events or political events. But thank you for everything that y'all have done in the last couple of weeks. We know that our East End community is hurting. We are grieving loss of life. We've had a lot of issues going on in our community. We had the fire down the street on Lawndale, and I was out there as it was happening, and I've been out there since. And then, of course, losing one of our own, Lorenzo Salgado. And for many of us, it is very personal because we're from the East End. I first met Ronaldo, his oldest son, back in 2017, and I'm so proud of the young man that he's grown up to be. And right after that happened, my colleagues and I sent a letter to DPS asking for the Texas Rangers to conduct an independent investigation. I know our DA, I want to thank you, Sean, for all that you're doing. You've been, yes, thank you. I'm really for the work that you're doing, and you have our full support. It's been frustrating because the FBI here in Houston has been handling everything, and I really felt like we needed an extra set of eyes on everything, and that's why we asked the Rangers to conduct an investigation. And we did not get that right away. I wish they had been on the scene immediately and conducting an investigation. And when we talked to them, they said, we asked if we could be involved, and that was declined. Well, and then 8 days later, then they were invited to come in and conduct a parallel investigation. So that's where we are. Texas Rangers, I know people may have their issues with them. I'm not saying, I have no issues. Of course, I think of situations where could have done better. But at least I know I can pick up the phone and call Colonel Martin, the head of DPS, who oversees the Rangers. And I've had numerous conversations with him. I can't call anybody at the FBI. I don't think anybody would answer my call. I don't even know if they will answer Congresswoman Garcia's call. And while I mentioned her, I do want to give her a big round of applause because she has been steadfast on this. And we are so lucky that she is still our member of Congress. Because in January, we'll have somebody new, and we don't know who that is. So very grateful for her leadership. So we are all keeping our foot on the gas pedal. We're not letting up. I know people feel like, well, nobody's doing anything, nobody's saying anything. We know that Friday there is a shadow congressional hearing. It's at Harris County. We urge everybody to show up, sign up to speak. Many of us will be there. And that was something that Congresswoman Garcia was able to get done. And then, of course, keeping in touch with DPS, trying to get a better timeline on how long and what this investigation is going to look like. So, and being, of course, being supportive of the family as well. Communicated last night with Ronaldo, and it's hard when camera lights go away, people start leaving and going on about their business, and just reassuring the family that we're still doing what we can within our own jurisdiction. So, again, the next big thing is Friday. And is that, pretty much all you? Now, we are keeping our eye on, what Lindsay and I have been meeting about is the merger, Union Pacific merger. I understand that they've been given some approval, the process is going forward, but we really have to organize opposition to that. If we think it's really bad now with Union Pacific just being Union Pacific, a merger, I think, is going to cause more traffic in our neighborhoods. And of course, the East End always gets the brunt of the rail traffic. And of course, because of the commerce, the activity that goes in and out of the port and the surrounding industries. But we need to make sure that Surface Transportation Board is hearing our concerns about the merger. Speaking of railroad issues, we hope to be breaking ground very soon on the pedestrian crosswalk that's gonna go at Milby High School over Highway 3/O'Galveston Road. I was able to secure $10 million to build that. And so we have a small match from the city of Houston. That's where Sergio Rodriguez was tragically killed there on the railroad tracks. We are naming the pedestrian crosswalk after him. So we hope to, we'll certainly send out an invitation. And you don't have to be a Milby buff. You can be an Austin graduate, Robert Gallegos. We're happy to have everybody. And we did get money, $250 million grant program that I was able to work on in the legislature for cities and counties to apply for that money for crosswalks, grade separations, meaning underpasses and overpasses. So that's great and fine. We want that money to get used up so I can go back this coming session and say, hey, it's all used up. We need another or even more money. But I want to make sure that by building grade separations, that doesn't get the railroad companies off the hook. They still have responsibility and accountability to the community because we are having to spend money because they've been bad actors and they're not following many guidelines about crossing tracks. So more to come on that issue. We are getting ready for session, believe it or not. So if anybody has ideas, we're certainly looking at things regarding the Rangers and when they step in to do independent investigations, because there's kind of a gray area there. So we have our hands full going into session. And if you have ideas, please contact our office. We're on Harrisburg and Lockwood, and y'all, Lindsay has our contact information. We look forward to hearing from all of y'all. Thank you very much.
We're gonna get this going, but did you have time for maybe two questions? Two questions. We're gonna let all the others live. Elisa in the back.
One of the constraints that the Houston City Council was under was SB 8 and the constraints that they're putting on how we define our cooperation with ICE. Will you support a repeal of that law in this session?
I know you're a woman of cloth. Can I say it? Hell yeah. It's a terrible law. It's a terrible law, and we knew this was gonna happen. And what we need to do is really, shake things up in the state leadership. But that only comes with elections. So it's okay to clap on that. Yeah, oh yes, yes, you are right. There is one in November. So we are going to remember in November because what that law has done has tied the hands of local government. It was a terrible law and it continues to impede local control. And unfortunately, folks on the other side of the aisle have repeatedly tried to impede local control ever since I got to the legislature some time back.
One more question? Good.
All right.
We're almost there. We're almost there, y'all. I promise. I promise. Thank you. Right. We're gonna move to Councilmember Salinas, and then we're gonna hear briefly from Councilmember Ramirez. Somebody use that mic? Yeah, you can use that.
Thank you so much, Lucy, for inviting me here today. And it's such a pleasure to be here with such an incredible organization. My name is Councilmember Alejandra Salinas. I have the privilege of serving as one of your at-large council members. And I don't want to echo too much what the senator said, but I absolutely agree with her sentiment. And I just want to take a moment to shout out just how important and incredible our district attorney is. Because as folks may recall, after we learned about the horrific events involving Lorenzo, the chief of police and mayor and other city officials said, it's a federal matter. We do not have the ability to investigate. But when this district attorney came out and said, no, I am going to investigate, that's when things started changing here in the city of Houston. So let's give them the city of Houston. So I am so grateful for your allegiance. There are so many difficult things going on right now in our community, and I can't put into words what I know so many of us are feeling. But I want to share what I think is a little bit of good news. And the good news is what, in coordination with you all and other groups across the city, we've been able to accomplish at City Hall over the past 6 months. Together with the support of your group and others, we were able to secure $3 million to combat illegal dumping. That was money that the budget did not call for, did not even consider, but with collective community organizing, we got it done. Thanks to collective community organizing, this fiscal year, the city of Houston is going to spend $2 million on buying additional trash trucks rather than waiting several years out to make those purchases. Thanks to the collective community organizing, you can now sign up online if you want to come to City Hall. Anyone ever spoke at City Hall before? You used to, as you know, used to have to call someone on the phone. It was way more difficult than doing far many things. And now you can go online and sign up thanks to collective community organizing. Thanks to that organizing, we passed an ordinance to reduce cooperation between HPD and ICE, an ordinance that many people said could never be done, but we did it through community organizing. While the governor may have threatened us and portions of that ordinance went away, the portion that remains is a transparency piece. And last week, we got the very first report that showed how HPD has been cooperating with ICE over the past 3 months. And I encourage you to go to our website. We've made the data available to the public, but the high level is this. For reasons I don't understand, and I expect HPD to come explain to the public, the amount of calls to ICE have doubled over the past 3 months. We are still, HPD is still holding people on the side of the road for up to 2 hours in multiple occasions. These are traffic stops where they are waiting. There are other instances where they are holding people for over an hour and then just releasing them because they realize that ICE didn't want them. This is very concerning. We cannot on one hand say ICE is out of control and then do nothing when HPD is cooperating to this degree. There is no state law that requires us to cooperate to this degree, and I and others will continue to call on the HPD to come to council and explain to the public why your tax dollars are being spent to help this out of control organization. Keep coming to council, keep writing to your council members, writing to the administration, and encouraging us to hold HPD accountable. If we can all agree that ICE is out of control, let's stop wasting our tax dollars on facilitating their operations and start spending them on keeping Houstonians safe. We know that we're going to keep fighting on them. The last thing I want to share with you is our newest initiative that, again, we are so grateful to your support for, which is the right to air conditioning. As we recently learned, as folks are now learning through the efforts of our ordinance, right now in the city of Houston, landlords are not required to provide air conditioning or some type of cooling unit. The ordinance says a cooling unit or a screened-in window. I don't know about you, but a screened-in window is not enough to protect Houstonians from the 100-degree heat that we are currently experiencing. Cities like Austin, Dallas, El Paso, Denton, and so many others, and the city of New York just passed a right to AC for tenants. There is no reason that Houston should not also be in that list, And I'm so grateful to support your organization, Texas Housers, so many other super neighborhoods, civic clubs, the Houston Food Bank, the Houston Apartment Association that have come on board and say, now is the time Houston renters deserve a right to AC. And with your help, we're gonna pass that in a few weeks at council. Because she has been such a staunch advocate to ensure that we hold Union Pacific accountable. And she came to me at the beginning of my term and said, we gotta make sure the city of Houston files a notice of intent to participate in these merger negotiations. And she pressed, and because of her, because of this woman, city of Houston did just that several months ago. So let's give her a round of applause. You inspire me. This entire group inspires me. I'm happy to answer any questions. Know that we are always here to be a partner, to help you in whatever you want to see done at City Hall. But just truly thank you all for being in this fight with us. Know that we're not stopping.
First of all, thank you, council member, and thank you, council member Pollard. The fighting, right, part of the nation pass. My concern, and you mentioned it, where HPD is holding someone for a very long time. Meeting. My question also is in regards to if HPD lets the individual go. Does HPD get their information in regards to their address? So that way they let the person go, but then they call ICE and they say, hey, I stopped somebody, I didn't show up. Here's their name, here's their address. Now you've got ICE going to the person's home. Not only are they possibly taking that individual, now they're possibly taking the wife, the husband, the kids. So explain how's that?
So when HPD informs ICE they've made contact with someone, I don't know that they then provide their home address. My understanding is they inform them, I have John Doe, I'm at this location. If you want to come get him in the next, whatever time period the officer gives them, I will be here. Now that's certainly a good question to ask the chief of police. When you call ICE, are you giving them all of their home identification, home address information? Are you giving them more information than ICE may already have on the individual? And if that's the case, we should certainly look into what under state law would we be permitted to do in terms of limiting that information. But it's a great flag. I'm meeting with the chief next week and I'm gonna pose that question. I think he needs to answer that question publicly.
The reason why it's concerning is because in a newspaper, it's not the article on the non-state newspaper, but they were writing a story regarding the shooting of Renzo. It stated that it was a law enforcement partner.
A local law enforcement partner that gave him a tip.
Provided address of those two Guatemalans.
Yeah.
That they were actually looking for. So my question is, who is that law enforcement partner that provided the address to those two Guatemalans? Because this is what happened. They gave that law enforcement partner gave HPD or gave ICE the address those two Guatemalans were looking for. And then now they end up going after Lorenzo, assuming that he's Guatemalan and he's Mexican. And we went after that white man, we have to be told because Guatemala trying to white man. So that is to stop that.
So I had the same question when I saw the article, I think it was 2 weeks ago. We posed a question, the chief of police has publicly said it was not HPD. The sheriff's department has publicly said that it was not them. I don't know if the constables have made a statement publicly, but if we're gonna get the answer to that question, it's gonna be from this wonderful district attorney.
There is a question showing up.
Oh, okay.
Start to cycle them through.
So my take up there, and I hope most of my colleagues feel this way, is we are doing our job when we sit there and listen to the public. And whether the public is happy or angry with us, it is not our job to pat ourselves on the back for sitting there and doing our job. It is our job to listen, acknowledge, and figure out how we can work together. I think we as a council need to have conversations amongst ourselves to make sure that that belief is that help the majority of the folks out there. I do believe it is. But there's no question that it's difficult, but I don't think we should be praised for doing what is our job, what we signed up to do, and the public should continue to voice your anger and your frustration. You are doing what you need to do, and we're doing what we need to do to listen, cooperate and have an open mind.
Before we move to this one, I just want to say, I did see the question that said, where is HPD? I just want to share that I actually asked HPD in precinct 6 to hold back for this evening, just so that we could create a true safe space. So that's actually what Lindsay did, not anybody else. Usually HPD does come to our meetings. So if there's any questions we want to relay to them, feel free to drop them in and we'll make sure to get those questions answered as best we can. So, and I know that Councilmember Martinez is not here, but we do have Juan Pablo. I just hadn't had a chance to shout you out yet. So if you do have any questions about the council member, if there's anything you want to share, or if you had something else going on, you can answer if you'd like. Cool. Then we got.
So Lindsay and I have this conversation often. So I can tell you, I think there's some positive developments on this front. One of the things you may have recalled I talked about on the campaign was the city does not have a grant coordinator across departments. So right now, before this, people were applying for grants one department and another, and there was no coordination, and as a result, there was a lot of miscommunication. The city of Houston put out an application and is in the process of finalizing, finally hiring a grant coordinator whose sole job will be to help look out for more opportunities and make sure the city is much more strategic in those efforts. So I'm hopeful that bringing on this grant coordinator is going to be a step in that right direction. But the other piece is we just need to be more proactive as council members. We need to be proactive working with our department to make sure that we're going out and seeking these grants. I hope some of these merger discussions result in us fighting for some additional dollars from the companies that are being merged. But it's just a failure of the city, and we need to do a better job on it. Okay, if you want to support the AC ordinance, on Tuesday there will be a committee meeting at 2 p.m. And if you're interested, please come speak, share your thoughts on why you support the ordinance. If not, you're welcome to come to public session, which, as you all know, will be in the evening at 5 p.m. Please come to council and talk about why you support the ordinance. If you can't come in person, send an email to your council members in the mayor's office telling them that you support the ordinance, that you hope they do the same. But all of that public, pressure, noise, support, for lack of a better word, it makes a big difference. So coming to council, voicing your support, speaking about it on social media, all of that works together. If you want to send a letter to the editor of the Houston Chronicle, everything helps. So please just make it known, tag your friends, get the word out there that we need you out there in favor of it, make it very hard for anybody to vote no.
All right, so I know that this is a train question, and I promise y'all I can talk about trains for hours, so we're not going to do that right now. But I do have a train FAQ that I'm going to share at the end, and it does talk about this process. So we'll send that out kind of at the end, and you can read through, and then follow up with me if you want to learn all about trains.
So the unfortunate answer is no. Under SB4, we are required to cooperate to some degree. The big debate and fight we had in April was what degree of that cooperation is required. My view and the view of the other cities, even what the other cities are doing today, is that it is not as much cooperation as the city of Houston is currently doing. The idea that we have to wait long as ICE takes to get there, no other city in Texas is doing that. It's just us, because we have decided that that's what it requires to appease Governor Abbott. But we cannot end cooperation, unfortunately, entirely, but we can do things to reduce it, to bring it in line with what other Texas cities are doing. He has not indicated to me whether or not he supports the ordinance, but I do hope he will. It should be fixed, and I'm going to do everything in my power to hold HPD accountable to ensure that they do. So I've heard this question. I assume this is in relation specifically to ICE officials. And I certainly, the DA would probably have a better take than me. I know the city of New Orleans started to compile these reports. I think it would be best if advocacy groups were the ones compiling that could then work with legal resources to tie it to people that could actually bring claims. I would hate for this to be compiled in some department at the city of Houston where we could not take effective action, or we couldn't ensure that the data was sufficiently protected from subpoena from the governor or God knows who else. But the DA may have better thoughts than I on that point, but I think it's a great idea. But I think in the city of Houston, probably one that needs to come from the advocacy side. And if you all are interested in doing so, or looking for lawyers to help support that, I know a lot of lawyers that would love to serve in a pro bono capacity. So just reach out to my office, let us know how we can support that effort.
And I'm happy to answer this one. It's a lot, y'all. This is my life right now. So I don't think y'all understand. So we'll reserve that for another day. Maybe we'll set that up for our next meeting. But yes, there is a lot of work going into this between a lot of our elected officials talking about this and making sure we can get movement here.
I mean, I would love to bring it back, but I don't know that I have the votes to get it passed. If there was an indication that we could get the votes, I would bring it back in a heartbeat. I'm not sure. Yeah. I think we got it. Just double check it all. Yes. Is that your question? Can you elaborate on it?
Yeah, it's the operation, starting on the line. Why? We need, right, the purpose of it.
Okay.
For now, operation,
So it wouldn't be the city's place. I have my city council hat on. It wouldn't be the city's place to challenge us per se, but I think the best thing we can do is keep the pressure up on HPD to explain why they are holding people as long as they are, and see if we can get some positive movement to reduce that, knowing that there is going to be sort of additional enforcement and engagement by law enforcement. From a city's perspective, we're sort of limited in that regard, but in terms of activism and organizing outside of that, I'm happy to be in support in any which way I can.
I don't know if we can answer this one.
I am asking for it. I will ask for it directly and speak to the chief about it next week, but I think there absolutely should be.
So with that, thank you so much for coming to speak. You're welcome to come. Say hello. I just want a really quick shout out because Juan Pablo is here. He's from District I. So if you have any questions, he's here. He's going to hang around with us. And I think I see Representative Ana Hernandez's office back there. So that's Daniel Vasquez. If you have any questions, Ana Hernandez is a huge supporter of all of our training work. So you can always hang with us and talk training someday. But yeah, this is say hello.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be with you. Grateful for the opportunity to say a few words for you. Thank you for the invitation I had to come out. First and foremost, I'm here because I want to support our district attorney, Sean Tier, in his investigation into the shooting of Lorenzo Salgado a couple of weeks ago. I know there have been many calls for an independent investigation of the shooting, and what he and his staff are doing is an independent investigation. I'm sure they will come to their own conclusions in their effort to see whether any state law violations were committed, and they will not be guided by whatever conclusions the federal agencies doing their investigation come to. So by definition, what he's doing is an independent investigation. I fully support him and what he's doing. I know Sean, and I know a lot of the people still who work at the DA's office. When this happened a couple of weeks ago, my first comments were to try to manage expectations, because having been in a position to try to investigate a federal agent for a use of force, the feds make it extremely difficult to do anything. And in this set of facts, the circumstances were even harder to conduct an investigation. I'm sure he'll get into that with you. There are all sorts of roadblocks that are placed in the way of a state official to investigate a federal agent for use of force in this kind of situation. Second, it's pretty obvious and has been even before the shooting of Mr. Salgado, that ICE is out of control in their enforcement operations in our city and across the nation. And I am glad that people are speaking out. I'm sorry that it has hit our streets, because we saw what happened across the country in Minneapolis and so forth last year. But unfortunately, it has reached our streets, and people need to keep up the pressure on ICE to change their tactics. What they're doing is completely out of line with accepted practice in those departments that actually are trained to do traffic stops, like HPD and other large police departments. So I'm grateful to see that. And the last thing I want to say off topic is in the budget process last year, I offered some transparency amendments to increase the amount of information and the rapidity, the speed by which our council members receive information on infrastructure project changes, right? So we offered a few amendments. Those have been working in the background. I've been working with our public works director, Randy Mackay, and Stephen David on the mayor's staff, and we have finally come to an agreement, I believe, and we'll be moving forward in a few weeks, and we'll see those transparency amendments on an agenda for a vote by the full council. So grateful for that. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Councilmember, for being here. Everybody give him a round of applause. Ready to speak. I just wanted to recognize the Representative Jolanda Jones' office is also here. They just came up. So yeah, if you have anything you want to speak with them about,
Wasn't told I'd have to read. It's gonna be a problem. I'm a lawyer. I can't do math, but I can read. First of all, to the senator, to both council members, thank you for your kind words. Julian, Councilmember Ramirez, was already, I think, at the DA's office for like 30 years when I came as a baby. But he absolutely speaks from experience, because for quite a while, he was in charge of our civil rights division. He was the person that was going out, that Jarrell Rogers now has that job. So he's experienced this firsthand, and he's exactly right. This is not the way that officer-involved shootings of any caliber have ever been handled in Harris County. I'm going to get into as much as I can about a lot of the investigation, but you're going to start getting frustrated with me today, especially in the questions part, because I'm going to say a lot. I can't answer that. And that is specifically because I want to protect the integrity of this investigation. I want this investigation to go wherever the evidence leads us. And then if there is a criminal charge against anyone, I want to be able to prosecute it in a state criminal court, and I want it to be in Harris County. I don't want, because of something I've said, it to have to be moved to a different jurisdiction or to federal court. So I am going to do what I need to do to make sure we get that done. One thing that I can tell you that we've discovered in our 2 weeks investigation is that Lorenzo Salgado is a Houston. Yeah, absolutely. A lot more than those people that were out there chasing him down and gunning him. He was one of us, and that absolutely guided that morning, Tuesday morning, when we were sitting around in our office, tragically knowing that this was coming and deciding what we were going to do. In every officer-involved shooting, federal agent, DPS trooper, Texas Ranger, HPD, Sheriff's Department, doesn't matter. DA's office is always called to the scene. We run an independent investigation side by side. We knew that wasn't going to happen, and it didn't. but a member of our community was killed. And in very short order, this team, and I mean, I couldn't keep them away tonight. I can't keep them at home. My overtime budget is already blown because they are just 24/7 doing this. It was, we got to get out there. The minute that scene was cleared by the federal agents, we were out there. And we have been out there every single day since, pulling surveillance, talking to witnesses, convincing people that we are not the same as them. And that is one of the reasons that I'm here tonight with my entire team. And they're going to stay until the end. If anyone just wants to quietly talk, if anyone, y'all are the leaders of this community. Please, from the bottom of my heart, go out into the community and let them know we're not reporting to ICE. We're not reporting to the FBI. I'm not reporting to Greg Abbott. I'm not reporting to anyone. You all elected me to this job. I don't have a boss but you. Our community demands that we do this straight up. Please. There are people that are so scared, justifiable, and I completely understand. We will do everything in our power to keep you confidential. If nothing else, just point us in the direction that you think we need to go. We're doing everything we can to get pieces of information to piece this entire tragedy together. One thing that is just, it's infuriating to me because I am a career prosecutor. I've done this. I've been in the trenches. I've taught at the HPD Academy. I've taught at the Sheriff's Department Academy. I work with police officers day in and day out. I know how they're trained. I know what they're supposed to do. And watching the way that these agents are behaving on our streets it's reprehensible. No one would ever teach a law enforcement officer to act the way that they're acting. And the thing that is separate and apart from this incredible tragedy, but what this is having the effect on our community is making the average citizen distrust all of law enforcement. It is making people who are integral witnesses to really, really bad offenses, sexual assaults of children, aggravated robberies, murders, not want to cooperate and participate out of justifiable fear. We are having to release people because I can't make the case anymore because of their fear around the behavior of ICE. We all can assume what the actual motivation from Washington, D.C. and Austin is, but their stated goal is to make people safer. It's unquestionably having a 180-degree effect of that. And so what I want to continue to come out and tell people is the DA's office will never, ever, ever, ever ask your status. We will never, ever notify anybody else about your status. Our only job is to get justice in every case, whatever that is. In this case, I've never seen a federal search warrant be unsealed, ever. I've been doing it 20 years. Julian's been doing it a few more than that. It's just so much fun to have the microphone and get to mess with Julian because, you know, he terrified me for 15 years at the DA's office. But I can promise you ask him afterwards. He hasn't seen it either. Before a grand jury presentation, federal search warrants aren't unsealed. And this one, a warrant that wasn't even needed, was written and unsealed the same day it got signed in an attempt to drag a good man's name through the mud and change the narrative. But I can tell you, I feel really confident that when these lab results come back, it's the one piece of evidence I am going to talk about. Because I know what it's going to say. And so I'll leave it at that for right now, but I'll come back. I'll come back. That's gonna be fun. I just want to convey to the public as a whole. This is an independent investigation. We are investigating state crimes that may have been committed. The medical examiner ruled Mr. Salgado's death a homicide. There's one agency in Harris County, Texas, is authorized to investigate and prosecute that. It's my office. We will deal with all the federal removal. We will deal with all the other fights that need to be had. But I was elected and I have dedicated my entire professional life to doing this job. In this case, it's no different. The suspects are in a different position than a lot of these kind of cases that we investigate, but the crime is no different. And every one of the men and women on my team are committed to doing and continuing this for as long as it takes us to do it. And we couldn't do that without Commissioner's Court, and they have already, Commissioner Garcia's reached out, Commissioner Briones has reached out, Commissioner Ellis has reached out, Judge Hidalgo's reached out. They are all committed to making sure that we can stay in this fight as long as we can. So it's not going to happen quickly. And trust me, that infuriates me as much as it does every one of you. But there is not a day that goes by that we're not working on this. There's not a day that goes by that we're not sitting in my office. I mean, the joke is they've now been in my office more this past 2 weeks than they had the last 18 months. We're in there every day. We're deciding, we're talking about what to do. One of our lead trial lawyers in this was up at the detention center today and was able to interview one of the detainees. Because of the drumbeat from the public. I'm convinced that that is true. Because of the drumbeat from the public, it's not going away and you guys can't let it go away. We now have had access to the van that Lorenzo had. We are going to be able in very short order to get that van back to the family. We have, in large part, thanks to the Texas Rangers coming in, had more clarity from the feds, both the FBI and Department of Homeland Security, OIG. We are well on our way to being able to get a real picture of what happened. And the thing that I am absolutely committed to is whatever eventually happens in this case, if there is a charge, then rest assured, in an open courtroom, every bit of evidence we've discovered will be released. But if there is no charge, we will have an open forum where I walk the public through exactly what we've discovered, how we discovered it, and how we got to that point. It is the least that I can do. Now, I guess it's time to read. Unless somebody just wants to do the old school
Hey, I'll help you.
question and
Don't
answer.
worry.
I'm just
We got a lot of questions lined up here, so, yeah.
It's your department. I mean, it's kind of the first thing we got to do, right? No, I don't even know how to say this the right way, but tragically, we're not the first jurisdiction to have to do this since January of 2025, right? We have been in touch with Cook County, that's Chicago, that had to go through this with the surge. We've been in touch with Minneapolis and Hennepin County. We are reaching out to Maine. This isn't, we're not having to reinvent the wheel on how to investigate federal agencies and federal officers when the federal government either won't do it themselves or are actively trying to hinder an investigation. So yes, in short, we're getting there. I've read more federal case law in the last 2 weeks than There's a reason I didn't go to the US Attorney's Office. It's all they do is write. And so we're gonna bring in experts. We are gonna do everything we need to do to be ready when the charging decision is made on this case. Oh, good. So we should highlight that, the thumbs up. So a couple of things on officer-involved shootings at any level. Officers aren't taken into custody immediately at just about, there are probably some exceptions, but in typical officer-involved shootings, officers aren't taken into custody. One of the reasons being we typically don't think of them as flight risks. They've got union reps, they've got an attorney, we know kind of where they're gonna be. Apparently, when ICE agents get involved in shootings, they become flight risks. So the short answer in this case is they weren't taken into custody because we still don't know from ICE who they are. We didn't have access to the scene. So there was no ability for us to take anyone into custody at the time. Everybody just calm down on that. We don't know who the shooter is, okay? Because again, I have an incredible team of investigators who do this kind of business all the time. I think the agency that employed the shooter should be upfront and very publicly telling us who the shooter is, but I got a lot of ways to find out who someone is, okay? So rest easy on that one. I've talked to Councilmember Martinez. I've talked to Councilmember Ramirez. I've talked to Councilmember Salinas. I've talked to a lot of those that spend so much of their free time at the Horseshoe. And yes, to a person of the council members that I've talked to, they have been extraordinarily supportive, both in words and deeds. I mean, you've seen, I've watched, it's kind of sometimes fun to watch. When y'all are out on the Horseshoe, and you've been extraordinarily supportive, all of you, and Councilmember Martinez is as well. Yes and no. In this case, the 3 men that are detained in Conroe, we were able to certify them as material witnesses for their U visa applications. That's not a guarantee. But when we deem someone a material witness to a crime, we can fill out the paperwork, and that is the first big step in getting someone to prevent their deportation during the pendency of the case. So we're going through every channel possible to ensure that they're not deported. But as I told Ruby Powers, Victor's immigration attorney, if they are deported, we will head down to Mexico or wherever they are, and we will get their statements there as well. This is not something where they're going to be able to go hide material witnesses from my investigation. So we have a way to help people not be deported, but we're not for sure. Not much, not as much as the council. I can tell you, just for me, I want the HPD officers that I work with out on the street investigating and helping the community. I don't want them doing ICE's job, right? ICE just got, I don't know, keep hearing like $1 trillion. They could go do it themselves somewhere else. But I've made this clear. This doesn't help me make Harris County safer. So I think I'm gonna leave it at that. But Yeah, I don't have any influence on HP.
I think the answer is I just want to make sure.
It's one of those that I wish I could say. Um, So we are very, very good in our office at running an investigation without a law enforcement partner. We do that intentionally. There's a reason that the DA's office has almost 120 sworn police officers that work directly for us. And it's one of the reasons that we have so many is for police shootings. So we don't need the help of an agency who might be having to investigate their own officer for a shooting. We get to be completely independent by ourselves running it. So yeah, we're doing great. Thank you.
Love this.
I mean, call Adrian and Rodney. Let's make it filthy. Sure. My investigation scope is everything. My investigation scope is every state crime. We put it in the U visa applications, and it's not a secret what we are looking at, right? Because no one in that van that's still alive committed a state crime at all. So my investigation is completely around murder, manslaughter, criminally negligent homicide, tampering with evidence. Those are the four big ones that are encompassing in this investigation. Now, as the investigation progresses, if anything else comes up, that's the beauty of being the chief law enforcement officer in the third largest county in the country. My scope is anything that a state crime is involved in Harris County. So that, yeah, my scope is everything. Telling them all to vote for me. Not yet. It's 2028. So the county in this case is the Harris County DA's office. And what we can do is bring charges if a crime was committed. There are vehicles by which a federal law enforcement officer can do what they call remove a case if we file it into federal court. There are ways that we can fight against that to keep it in state court. If we get to a position where we think that charges are justified in this case, then we're going to file state charges in this case. And we are going to advocate for as long as it takes to keep them in state court in Harris County. So yeah, there's a lot we can do. Yeah, look, HPD has been communicative with our office from the morning of the shooting. They've been extraordinarily helpful in everything we've asked of them. The mayor has called a number of times to voice support and to make sure that we know that anything we need on their end, we get, and they follow through. Anything we've asked for, they have absolutely helped with in every case. And I know that Senator Alvarado touched on it a little bit. I completely understand that the Texas Rangers have a checkered history over a long time. The ranger in charge of this investigation is the ranger that we work with all the time in officer-involved shootings. We have an extraordinarily good relationship with Company A and with this ranger. This is a benefit that he is, and they are with us on this. They are the agency that we work most closely with in all officer-involved shootings. So this is something that is very usual for us to work with them, and having them here is a benefit. So just, it may not, and I get 100% understand anyone's trepidation, but it is a benefit to us to have them. My investigation, our investigations, I guess. Our investigation will cover all of it. It will cover that entire day. It may cover days before. It will look at everything we can get our hands on. And the possible outcomes are, quite frankly, one of two things. We charge one or more federal agents with a state crime, or we don't. Either way, I will stand up and explain to the public what the decisions were, whether or not we presented it to a grand jury or we made a charging decision on our own. But those are really the only two outcomes.
I did see a question about what to do when you're stopped. We're gonna be talking a little bit about that afterwards. I'm just not ignoring it. I just wanna make sure we focus on.
Y'all just like vaudeville hook me whenever it's time for me to stop. I'll stand up here all day. And before I forget, I may have to run after I do this, but a lot of my team, if not me, are going to stay till the very end. If you just want to keep asking questions, they're here. But also, if you have something that you don't feel comfortable talking about over the phone or anything, they're here to provide information, get information from you. We're just going to be present. And we're going to be present in a lot of rooms in this community going forward, just so that people can feel, nobody's ever comfortable around people like us, but just more comfortable that we're here for that. All right, sorry. So we have a dedicated secure portal. We've got QR code, we've got emails, we've got it in every way possible that anyone can upload surveillance footage from their house that they don't want to send in, that they're worried that the FBI is going to get or ICE is going to get. If you were riding anywhere around there and you took cell phone footage, if you just saw something, the only people that have access to that secure portal are us. We've got flyers that we can hand out. But for me, that's the best way to help our investigation. On the other side, social media and things, keep pounding the drum. Look, we've got a plan now that I believe is going to allow us, if God forbid this happens again in Harris County, that will allow us to get on the scene during that day. But I hope that the volume of media, that they understand that this office is not going to be cowed, that we're not going to just take people's word for anything, that it will give some of their reckless behavior and force them to think twice before they start acting like this again, at least in Harris County. And that can only get out by people just continuing the steady social media presence, comments, the media, our media partners that are continuing this. So yeah, that was a very long answer, but pretty straight.
There's still like 20 questions, so to make sure that we get time to our immigration attorney, I'm gonna after this one, I'm gonna send them to your office. Sure. And then we'll send them out via email and over social so that we can all know what's going on.
All right, I'm gonna do this one and then I'm gonna take one in the gallery. I just want to feel like, you know. All right. This is a very insightful question. And the short answer is we're looking at it. to be honest, I don't know. I think it might be a question of first impression. I don't know the answer, yes or no, but we're looking at it. Yes, ma'am. Sure. Yes, sir.
Just one real quick question. You said that you would like to be able to keep us posted in this, let's give you our schedule. We can stay every month.
You're always welcome to come back.
I mean, yes, Lindsay is always, Tanisha Manning, my external affairs in the back. Yes, and this won't be the last time, I promise. Even if I get caught at a train, I'll come by. I mean, I grew up here too, I know. Yes, ma'am.
It is alleged or reported by the media that Metro has a video. Two-part question. Have you heard if ICE or whomever they are have asked for that video? And have you seen that video? And is there anything to share with us?
Okay. I can't tell you what we have or what we haven't gotten. But I can tell you that I feel very confident we've obtained every piece of surveillance footage that has relevance in that area of the shooting, including any surveillance cameras that might have been mobile at the time. Yes, ma'am.
So thank you. We are so grateful
Thank
that
you
you were able
also.
to come out. So thank you. Here, speakers are going to answer just additional questions. It's Virginia Vanez with Lovey Law. She's actually lives within our super neighborhood, so we're excited to have her. And she's also she loves our fight with the train, so all about it. But we're gonna walk through this and just tell me when to go to the next slide. And while she's getting set up, I just want to announce two things. One is that the Magnolia Multi-Service Center is having a mental health crisis team available. So if you need to talk to somebody, they will be here till 8:30. It looks like Councilmember Martinez was out canvassing to get people the mental health crisis situation handled that they needed, bringing them here. So just making sure I shared that announcement.
Okay, well, nice to meet everybody. Lindsay, thank you for recognizing this. The more I learn about Lindsay, the more I love her. Trains are a big issue for me as well. I could reach my arm out probably, touch a train every time it passes. So thank you for all this work. I practice corporate immigration law. It's very different from, it's a little bit of a niche practice area, so I'll focus on what I do. I've been working in immigration law for about 10 years. I worked for nonprofits, worked for other employers, and about 6 years ago started my own firm. I live in the East End, and so this community is very important to me. I'll go ahead and mention my very short knowledge of how early on I realized there were a lot of misconceptions in immigration law. I was very young, probably my 20s, early 20s, and undocumented at the time. And I remember sharing with my best friend of many years and letting her know, finally working up the courage to tell her, my family and I are undocumented at that time. And I remember her response being, why don't you just apply? And so I hear it all the time. We hear it all the time on the news. Why don't they just apply? Why don't they just do it the right way? And sometimes it's almost impossible. There's very often not a legal pathway, or some people just don't have the funds for it, and some people don't have the knowledge for it, or there's just not enough information. So it's very important, particularly for our community, to be well informed. I like to advocate for those who have struggled to get the right information. And it's very important to talk about reputable sources of information. When we're talking about immigration law and you want to help someone be well informed, you have a neighbor, maybe it's not yourself that is in situation where you need immigration law help, but maybe a neighbor, a friend, nonprofits and nonpartisan research organizations are absolutely great resources. They do the homework for you. They have the experts, they get all the information, and they almost just bullet point it for you. So if you hear a policy that is being announced, like the one that's going to be implemented in September for people applying for a green card, you can always go to a nonprofit organization like the Immigrant Legal Resource Center and try to find the information very briefly there. I would suggest before finding it on social media. Oh, sorry, we can go back. There we go. Okay, and so for direct source of government information, I know nobody wants to hear go to the ICE.gov website, but ICE.gov website has the detainee locator system in it. So if your neighbor is detaining, your friend is detaining, your family member, you want to know where they are. That's the first place to go. With ICE.gov, you'll find the online detainee locator. You want to know their name, complete name, their date of birth, and preferably their country of birth. That will get you to find where exactly they're located. It does take a few hours sometimes to find them. Sometimes it's 24 hours. My neighbor. Sometimes it takes a few hours to find them, but you want to go direct to the source. USCIS.gov usually is for affirmative cases. People who are applying for legalization, you want to apply for a green card. You want to go directly there to get information on how to file. If you do not have an attorney and you're doing it on your own, that's where you can get the information on the right step. You can find out fees, processing times, and finally CBP page for people. If someone's coming to visit you from out of the country, you have a cousin coming on a visa, and you want to help make sure that they know how long they can stay. CBP has an I-94 link on it where you can find out how long they've been admitted. So I encourage anyone who's having visitors from abroad to remind them, after you enter, check your information on this website, because some people think they can stay here for 6 months, but sometimes they've only been admitted for 2 weeks for certain reasons. And finally, of course, I would advocate for a U.S. licensed attorney to give you legal immigration advice. You can always look at State Farm websites to see if someone's licensed. Non-reputable sources, I know there's good information on social media. Sometimes there's also really bad information and information that spreads really quickly by influencers or people who claim to have the right knowledge. Please be cautious. We must be careful on what we share on our socials so that we're not putting people in a situation of extreme fear when maybe there's not the need for it. Maybe what they're hearing doesn't apply to them or isn't actually going to be implemented. Anyone claiming to have a connection? I hear this all the time. Attorneys, somebody told me they could get me a green card in 6 months because they have a connection. So I paid them $10,000 and nothing happened. Now my name is out there. Now I have an order to be removed from the United States. So when you hear I have a connection, that's where you run very far away. Just please stay away from that if you need immigration law help. And then notarios, unfortunately, our immigrant community falls victim very often to people who claim to have the right knowledge and also charge thousands of dollars for filling out forms, and they often choose the wrong application that can go in a really difficult situation. So you can check your state bar website to make sure that someone's licensed to practice law. So since my main focus is employment-based immigration, I think the next thing, yes, I want to talk about workplace employment, workplace and immigration. I represent a lot of small employers, from people who have 2 employees to people who have 200. I mean, we do it all for immigration law-based practice. And when we hear the ICE raids that happen in workplace, a lot of it stems right back, the origin of it is going to stem right back to I-9s. Why? Because an employer is violating the law by hiring people that are unauthorized to work, right? So that's where ICE very often steps in and is going to say, we are going to come in and take all the people or try to stop your businesses. Usually, they will just give you a fine, a monetary fine as an employer initially, but we've seen in many communities that it turns into sweeping, taking people in, and it's scary. So most importantly, I try to tell employers to be prepared. We hear of cases after the fact, and that's usually a problem. When the employers are prepared, they can protect their employees, they can protect their business, their entire area of work. So usually if you're an employer, you have to file an I-9. You have someone that's on payroll, you have to have an I-9 and verify that they can legally work. Who is required to have them? Employers with people on payroll. But who is not is most important very often, because contractors are not employees. So you as an employer, if you have a business of any size and you have contractors, you really do not have a duty to investigate or ask their immigration status to know if they can legally work or do work for you or your company. So, and also I would suggest don't ask. I mean, if they're just doing contract work for you, please do not ask. It just does not pertain to you, right? So as an employer, if you want to make sure these people just do certain work for me, it's very important to have a strong way of proving that they are contractors and not employees. An employee is usually defined as someone who, and I'll try not to get super technical, but an employer is someone who usually has a set schedule. An employee is someone who has a set schedule, who receives salaries, who doesn't have their own tools, who does work specifically, specific work day to day for you, versus a contractor is going to be someone who usually has their own tools, who has their own schedule, who does different types of more sporadic work for you. And that's where you can say, this is a contractor, I don't know, and I didn't ask. They do not actually work for me, they provide services for my company. Having a good contractor is something great for an employer, if that's what you have. If you are found in violation of an I-9, probably your business is going to get a fine initially. You can fight that fine, and people are scared of it. It's monetary, just a range you can think about as $2,500 per I-9 violation. You used to be able to correct it or have the chance to correct it, but that's slowly fading away. So you can try to negotiate it and bring it down by a certain percentage. And factors used to determine fines is your company smaller size? Is this your first time violating I-9 policies? Your good faith approach towards it. Are you cooperating with the I-9 investigation? So most importantly, what's going on in our community is what to do in your place of work if ICE approaches. This is where I recommend that everyone have a game plan. You can have a game plan as an employer, but your employees are the ones who really need to have a game plan and understand it. I like to compare it to a fire drill. If you're going to have a fire because you have a warehouse, you want to have instructions for your employees. And as an employee as well, you want to know what should I do? Because when it happens and a guy with a gun and a bulletproof vest and intimidating with a face covered comes at you and says, I need to come in this place of work, or doesn't even ask you, just walks right past you, a lot of people just cave and don't know what to do. So officers, ICE officers cannot go into a private area of place of work. So initially, you want to let your staff know that you have to ask for a judicial warrant. You have to have a judicial warrant to enter private areas of place of work. It must be signed by a judge. So please tell your employees, this is what a warrant looks like. I just shared one on my social media today of what it should look like. And I didn't add a picture of it, but yeah. Of course, call your attorney as soon as this starts happening. Everyone has the right to remain silent. Do not consent to letting them into the workplace. And yes, remind employees of the right to remain private. There's an important differentiation of what is a private and a public area of workplace. And yes. Yes, okay, so the difference between a public and a private workplace area is really important for your staff to know and important for you as an employer to add and show. So if this was a restaurant and this was a public seating area, ICE might be able to come in here and sit down and order and eat. But if you don't want them to go past those doors, you want to have that signaled and have private, please do not go past, this is a private area. You want to make sure you have signs. Sometimes it's super obvious, but we don't want to run that risk. We want to say we have a sign that says this is private and you cannot go back there, which is where my workers are, which is where everyone is in the kitchen doing all the labor. So they can only enter private areas with the judicial search warrant. So again, must be signed by a judge, district court. Yeah, so knowledge here is most important. During the raid, remind your employees to say, I'm not the employer, I cannot give consent, you cannot go past this point. Just remind them of that. They're gonna get intimidated, but remind them of that. Again, this is a private area, you may not enter without a judicial warrant, and our cell phones are an amazing tool. Start recording right away. If you have cameras in your business, make sure they work. Very often people's cameras erase the footage 24 hours after. If something happens, please download all that footage immediately. You're going to need it. I don't care if you think it was a small instance, it was just one person, whatever, but you're going to need it. So please download it immediately before it gets erased. After the raid, you want to think as if you witnessed a crime, and you possibly did witness a crime. So when you witness a crime, right, things start disappearing from your memory quickly. It's hard sometimes to dig up certain things. So document everything. What were the officers wearing? Did they have visible weapons? Did they come in marked vans? Did they come in marked vehicles? Did they identify themselves? Did they have badges? Did they show a search warrant? All the details you can remember, document them. What time did they arrive? How long were they there? Did they speak to people? And then everyone that was there, also statements, write out as much as you can. If your employees don't speak English, get their phone out and start recording their voice to remember everything. What did you see? ¿Qué viste? ¿Qué hicieron? Just everything you can get them to remember friends.
So just before we advance, I just wanted to share, you do need one-on-one emotional support. It is now you can go to the Harris Center, which is now in room E115. It's going to be open for another 30 minutes, so no judgment. You take care of yourself. So if that's something you need, the room is E115.
Okay, and then just a checklist. I don't know if I feel like I can do that, but just have a plan. I know it's hard, and we shouldn't have to be doing all of this and overly prepare, but truly it's happening in the community. So just it's great to have your staff be well informed, just the way you want.
We'll share this.
Okay. Okay, so I guess we'll jump back to questions. And one final thing I'll talk about, I know we're pretty short on time, but FOIA request. This is something that's not employment-based related, but I think they're just so great for anyone who wants to know their immigration history. The Freedom of Information Act was created so that any person, citizen, non-citizen, immigrant, anyone, can get information about themselves from any government agency. So if you are someone who naturalized, who became a U.S. citizen when you were 18, and you honestly do not remember, now you're in your 40s and you're like, you know, I think it's time for me, and my mom doesn't remember what she's about. So it's time for me to probably know my immigration history. You can file a Freedom of Information Act request on yourself with USCIS, with any government agency and they're gonna give you all the information they have about you from your past, right? So you can know, how did I become a green card holder? And then how did I become a citizen? Why? Because sometimes things come up and some people have been denaturalized. Some people learn that maybe their parents, not intentionally, but maybe their parents didn't fill out the right form, do things the right way, and it was another time, and it's good for everyone to know their actual immigration history. You can do one also on your driving record on pretty much any government agency, so they're free, up to a certain extent. I think I've never actually had to pay for one. There's a maximum page limit, about, I think it's like 200 pages, depends on the government agency. Never have I ever been billed for one from the government. So you can help your friend, your neighbors, anyone do that. And then, okay, so that's FOIA requests. And then the final one is how to protect your immigrant community. If you are a citizen, please don't vote if you're not one. I know no one does it intentionally. But engage in civic action, you're doing it right now. Being in these meetings is amazing. Share information from reputable sources, please, reputable sources. Translators, anyone who speaks 2 languages, you are so immediate right now. It's so important. We need you. Everyone needs you. The nonprofits, naturalization drives. If you speak 2 languages, you don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to know any. Just sit there. You know, switch English to Spanish or whatever language. Other languages are great too. Funding, of course, if you have money to support nonprofits, great, please do so. And then computer savvy people. Some of the older generation don't, you know, I tell them all the time, she would kill me if I said that, but all the time I have to tell them, you need to have an email address. You need to make sure you update your email address. You need to be able to check. So help people, if you're good with computer, please, it's the best help to have someone understand that how just a simple email address works. And then carpooling is just one other thing. Sometimes people are scared to get in a car and drive to work. And if you have a car and you have a little more free time, offering to take someone to their work on days when they're scared is pretty valuable.
So we have one question, and just so that y'all know, we're going to do a really quick feedback at the end. It's very interactive. We'll turn on the music. It'll be great and fun. So while we have our one question, we also have small cards that you can take with you that know your rights, keep them in your pocket, in your purse, in your car. You can have them. And there's also some on the table. You can have those. You can take them for your friends, families, neighbor, anybody. So walk around and hand those out while we're getting ready to walk. I think Clay has a question. Clay.
Thank you for sharing your professional advice and knowledge. In the early stages after the shooting, we saw messages coming from local leaders saying that one of the important things to do is to comply with law enforcement because it is a sensitive time and we want people to stay safe and comply with law enforcement. But I think the community recognizes what might be so scary is through dealing with officers that might have their face covered, that may be in plain clothes, that might be in unmarked vehicles. Is there any standard that your office has found that ICE officers or border patrol agents might have to identify themselves or prove that they are a legitimate government actor requesting information? Because I think that the fact that it's anonymous in some ways can be really intimidating.
Yeah, it's super intimidating. I mean, our area of practice is employment-based immigration, so then they come to a place of work. Very often, you can tell who they are, right? But you can never be sure. The only thing that we have for certain is that they have to identify a warrant to be able to enter a workspace. But do they actually identify themselves or in a public setting like that? I haven't doubt they ever do it. We haven't found there to be a specific requirement in the workplace for them to do it unless they're entering not a specific area. And I know it's super intimidating.
So we're not going to have the Ibanez, go through the questions just for the sake of time. But if you want to drop them in, I will work with her to get these answers out to you. So like you can still drop them in, it's totally fine, or you can email us after and we'll. Questions. I am going to follow up with the respective offices to put those back out and put those out on socials, newsletter, and website so that we're being as transparent as possible. But while we're gonna go through our misdemeanor. So if y'all want to log in really quick, we're gonna collect some very basic info. We're gonna turn on. fine when there's music. And this should only take just a couple minutes, but it's gonna be helpful information for us to take back to our council members, to our state reps, all of this, so it's gonna be super good. And then we'll have some quick announcements. Hello to our voter outreach, who's just gonna introduce himself. I'm sorry, it's a long meeting. We figured that might happen. So that's 023 and 003, that is right where we are, lots of 011, that's perfect. How long have you lived there? This is helpful for us to see. It's nice to get a good cross section of people who lived here for only a few years versus somebody who's lived here 20 plus years. Yep, perfect. Is this your first time to a super neighborhood meeting? And if the answer is not yours, that's okay. There's no judgment. This is a big question that I really want y'all to think about. Take your time with, and you can have multiple responses. In light of what has recently happened, what would make our community feel safe to you? I hear a wide variety. Do we want to change laws? Do we want to abolish? Or do you feel safe as you are? Do you want us to advocate for the Lorenzo Salgado Araujo Act, which is to make sure that ICE has marked cars, no face mask, ID, badges, those kinds of things? Like, what would make you feel, like, what would help you feel safe in your community? And all of these are safe answers, even if you feel good, we're not here for it all. Gonna give it about 30 more seconds. We're gonna do some community announcements. And I hope that we've just made it clear that, you know, any one of our board members of the super neighborhood, we're here to listen to you, judgment free. So you're always welcome to talk to us, share feedback, anything you'd like to hear more about. We're always happy to open up and hear from you. All right, so with that, anything else you'd like to share with your elected officials that you have not shared now? For those that are putting in, like, it's on an update, if you just want to document what's the best way to get an update, is it email, socials? What is a good update to you? What is a good forum for that? So that we can share. So we see communication, that's great. Okay, 10 more seconds. move on. So, as y'all know, I usually dump all kinds of information on you, but we're not going to do that now. So this is the QR code, which takes you to the website, which will dump all of the information for you that you can read in your own time. I promise it's a lot, it's worth your time. All of this will also go into our August newsletter. We'll probably put it out on socials as well, but if anybody has been to any one of my meetings, I have a lot of information all of the time. And I want to make sure that I give as much to y'all as I can. So you're welcome to read that in your own time. It will be on socials. You'll be able to see it on the Instagram link tree. So if you don't get this now, that's totally fine. But I just want to make sure it's announcements. I know we got one for voter outreach. You want to say hello really quickly? Yeah, we did have a question about voters, right? So we're gonna grab that one.
Howdy. My name's Alexandra Govea from the Harris County Clerk's Office, the Office of Judge. Just coming in to reintroduce myself to everybody, to say hello. I'm a voter outreach specialist, so I got into communities. I'm just here just to introduce myself, share some information. I'm going to be at the next few meetings leading up to this November election, just to keep it on everybody's radar. We just came from a whole slew of elections. Since November, we've had 8 elections in Harris County alone. And I know we're taking a little bit of a break, a hiatus from elections, but we do have an election coming up this November. And it's very important that you show up and vote. Vote locally, vote often as you can. All the information pertaining to the elections are always going to be on harrisvotes.com. Even if you forget my name or where I'm from, just always remember Harris Votes. That's our website, social media information. I am going to share my contact information with Lindsay to share with everybody as well. And I'm happy to see everybody at the next meeting and afterwards as well.
Yep. And in September, we're going to have a big voter meeting. So you're going to come back in September. We'll learn all about the vote, all about voting, all of that. So we'll be able to work together on that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Like this meeting, let me know. Real quick, show of hands. Good, bad? It was bad. You can tell me. It's fine. I can take it. Yes. Okay. You want to say something? Yes, please.
Oh, there's a message from Frank with Sylvia Garcia's office on the chat.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Brendan Alexander Villarreal. I work for Fence Line Watch, an environmental justice organization based here in the East End on Pine View Drive. I just want to let everyone know that there's a permit hearing coming up that we just got made aware of for Eco Services. The Eco Services is a sulfuric acid plant that's right here in Manchester, less than 2 miles away. And it's pretty bad. They don't really take care of the facility. Our sources from inside the facility send us pictures telling us or showing us the disrepair the facility is in. If you know anything about sulfuric acid, it's very harmful to people. And this facility said it itself that in the worst case scenario, a toxic plume will be 25 miles around the radius sorry, I'm speaking Spanish. And so it's very dangerous to not only our community here in the East End, but as well as it goes as far north as Spring, as far as south as almost Texas City. East, it goes all the way to past Baytown and west of Katy. So everyone is affected, but we have the right to comment about what we feel about Eco Services. And so we'll be posting stuff and getting you guys educated. I believe a comment. Pretty easy. You just have to be my voice. That's right. Your comment is send it to Texas Community on Environmental.
Yep. No, you're good. And so we're going to get some information for Air Alliance. We're going to put that in the newsletter, put that on socials so we can be involved as well. Then there is Frank Gonzalez is with Sylvia Garcia's office. They're going to be hosting a live stream to talk about, hold on really quick, make sure I got this here. There's going to be a hearing about it and it's going to be live stream on Friday. So I'm going to gather those details and I will make sure we get that out as well.
Sorry. And the permit hearing is August 20th. So in about a month.
Permit hearing is August
HCC
20th.
Southeast.
HCC, we'll get that information out. So with that, our next meeting is August 26th. Y'all are all welcome, even if you don't live in the area. And before I hit that final gavel saying, good night for the evening, I just want to give a really big shout out to Alma. I don't know if y'all knew this, but Alma sets us up every single meeting. She sets up the chairs. She helped make sure we get the projector, and she was helping me with our technical issues. I just want to make sure she gets a shout out.
say that it's the City of Houston building. If you ever want to do a meeting and invite the community, it's free of charge during our business hours, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. This building is for the purpose of the community. So we want to make the most out of it, and it's always available for y'all. And I'm always here to support your events. Okay, thank you.
All right. Informed, empowered, and just ready to go back out, get out there and fight the good fight. And if you haven't, we're gonna stick around for a few more minutes, but we are so thankful you're here. We hope you come back and continue learning with us. So thank you.